Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a sports betting perspective. With pro handicappers Alex B. Smith and veteran sports writer Jimmy Murphy. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Happy New Year and welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Saturday, January 1st. It is 2022. It is the first show of the new year. It's good to be here. And we have a atypical New Year's Day sized card when it comes to the NHL. Normally, in recent years on New Year's Day, you've had the Winter Classic. Sometimes that's it. And sometimes you have maybe a couple other games sprinkled in here and there. In addition to that, not today. This is a rare New Year's Day NHL card with a bunch of games, a full slate. We have 9 games on tap today. And of course, we'll break them all down. Highlighted, of course, the main event. We know what it is. It's the Winter Classic tonight. The St. Louis Blues and the Minnesota Wild. Should be a phenomenal atmosphere tonight, as it always is. The Winter Classic, it's a wonderful scene. It's always cool to see an outdoor NHL game. Even though they've done this now for years, you'd think, man, it's lost its shine. It's lost its luster. You know, maybe it's not as exciting or it's as terrific as it's been in years past. I still get into the Winter Classic. And look, it's a very important game and 2 solid teams tonight, the Blues and the Wild. So looking forward to that one taking place. And of course, we will have extended coverage and analysis of that later on in the show. But look, Target Field in Minnesota. And we'll definitely talk about the weather when we break down that game. You better have 8 layers of clothing on if you're going to that game tonight, because it is going to be a downright frigid and cold atmosphere in Minnesota tonight for this game. So you'd better be very well ventilated, if you will, if you're going to be attending that game. All right, let's start with we've got a slew of afternoon games today. 5 of the 9 games taking place on this Saturday card are day games. So we'll start with the Buffalo Sabres and the Boston Bruins. We've got Boston minus 320. Home favorites in this game, 5.5 the total. This is the first game for the Bruins following the break. Of course, they have gone a long time since they've played. December 16th was their last game. That's over 2 weeks ago. Boston was just slammed by COVID-19 issues prior to the Christmas break, and they've had many of their games postponed. But the good news is, you look at it from a Boston standpoint, they've got pretty much everybody back and ready to go for this game here tonight, for this afternoon, rather, the Sabres and the Bruins. So that's a good thing to see. Buffalo has played twice now following the break, a 4-3 loss to New Jersey, a 4-1 loss to the New York Islanders in their 2 games since the break. It's unfortunate that the new additions to the lineup, we talked about them. Alex Tuch making his Buffalo debut, the former member of the Vegas Golden Knights, and not really sparking a victory yet for this Buffalo Sabres team. This is a fascinating one. I'm actually going to take a small bite on the plus 270 here on Buffalo. You know, it's not like this Boston team was playing good hockey before their season was paused. They entered that COVID break, that COVID pause, 2-4 in their 6 games heading into that. You know, we've talked about how they've had several issues defensively this season. It just hasn't been as good a defensive hockey team, and it's been basically played out that way in terms of their results going into this game. You've got Linus Ullmark, who's going to be in net for this early start affair for the Boston Bruins. And, you know, I know Jimmy Murphy, who, of course, follows the Bruins every single day. He has talked about Ullmark being a little bit inconsistent, a little bit up and down. He's been a little bit better here in the month of December, but still not the kind of goalie that I think, wow, for a team that's minus 340 like Boston is in this game, is that the kind of goalie you think has got the utmost confidence and trust in any better? Not me, at least. And Luukkonen continues to be solid for the Buffalo Sabres. You know, he's going to be the starter once again here tonight, 2.3, or this afternoon rather, 2.3 goals against average, 932 save percentage. His start against New Jersey was probably one of his worst ones. I mean, it wasn't one of his better performances. 4 goals allowed in that 4-3 lost to the Devils. Prior to that, though, he had been playing very well. I just going to buy into the fact that even though we know Buffalo is not a great team, the fact that they've played twice and Boston has not played in over 2 weeks now, that means something, especially when you're talking about the early start time thrown into the mix as well. It's got that feel of Boston having probably a tough time winning this game comfortably, I should say. They could win this game. They should win this game. They're still better than Buffalo. I understand that. But, I mean, you're talking minus 340. This team hasn't played in forever. It's not like they played great before their pause. And at least you got a Buffalo team that from a rhythm standpoint, timing, all of that stuff, synchronicity, you at least have the fact that they've played twice since the Christmas break, which has to help them a little bit in this regard. So, yeah, I'm going to take a small dab here on Buffalo. You can get plus 270 in this game. In certain spots, I'm more than willing to take a shot with a big underdog. And this looks like one of those instances here where Buffalo might be the way to go. This is another game too. I'd probably be looking a little bit at a first period full game over split. We're talking about Boston again and another team off a long layoff. And usually what does that mean? It means sloppy play. It means some defensive miscues and communication breakdowns and the kind of things that could result in goals in this kind of situation. So I will be looking at a little first period over 1.5 minus 110 and full game over 5.5 minus 110 as well. Once again, a situation where you've got a team that hasn't played in a very long time, and that could lead to some trouble and mistakes with the puck. And usually those can end up in the back of your net. So first period, full game over, Buffalo as well, plus 270 for me. 3 bets, but they're all small in this game. Just make sure you bear that in mind. Montreal and Florida. We've got Florida minus 550, home favorites here, 6 the total. Man, this has got to be the biggest favorite we've seen on the board all year in NHL action, no doubt. And you know what's amazing is this line opened around minus 350 on Florida. There's been a $2 move. It's gone from minus 350 to as high as minus 550 in many spots. So people thought minus 350 on Florida was cheap, believe it or not. And now they have pushed this money line price all the way up to minus 550. I mean, take a picture of that. If you've got a live odds screen and you see that a line there with Florida, minus 550, take a picture of that. You're not going to see that again anytime soon, probably, a line this high in an NHL game. Why is it this high? Well, you look at Montreal and they barely have enough players available to them. I'm shocked this game hasn't been postponed. I am totally befuddled that they have not said, you know what, we're not playing this game, the NHL. Montreal can barely put together 12 forwards, 4 forward lines, and 6D. They can barely scrap and find enough players to put a team together and put a roster together on the ice for this game. And yet, from all indications, this game is still going ahead. I mean, it is absolutely remarkable. I'm shocked. Can't believe it that this game was not postponed. They couldn't wait to postpone, all the Boston games, the Colorado games, the Calgary games. Toronto had some games postponed. They couldn't wait to postpone all of those games. Yet Montreal can barely have enough players to play this game, and yet they're not postponing this one. So, it's just inconsistent with what you're seeing from this decision-making process. What constitutes a game that fits the parameters of being postponed? Wouldn't this be it? I mean, you look at Montreal. I don't know how the hell they're going to compete in this game. You look at the depth chart, and we already know who's out. Romanov on the blue line, Jeff Petrie, Joel Edmondson, Chris Weidman, Shea Weber, Ben Sherratt. That's the blue line. We know in the goaltending situation, Price has, of course, been out forever. Jake Allen's still out. Caden Primo's on the COVID list now as well for this Montreal Canadiens team. And then up front, you've got Brendan Gallagher. You've got Jonathan Drouin. They are out. You've got Jake Evans. You've got Yoel Armia, Paul Byron, Christian Dvorak, Matthew Perreault, Josh Anderson, Mike Hoffman, Tyler Toffoli, Arturi Lehkonen. I mean, we're talking about, last check, 18 players on the COVID-19 protocol list alone right now for the Montreal Canadiens. Like I say, they can right now. Here's what you're looking at for Montreal. There's holes in the lineup right now. There's depth charts that don't even have a fourth line center listed for this game for the Montreal Canadiens because they don't know who the fuck it's going to be. because they don't know who they're going to find to put in the lineup because they may not have enough players, and yet somehow they're going to play this game. I'm absolutely floored by it. The only thing I can think of is, look, Montreal is having a brutal season. They are way out of the mix already. There's no way this team's going to get back in any sort of playoff race. Their season's, they're playing for exercise from now until April. If we don't postpone this game, is it really the end of the world? This is not a team that's going to the playoffs. It's not a team that's going anywhere, in terms of this season. So I think they figure, you know what, if, they're hard done by right now and they can barely field a competitive roster, is it really that big of a deal? I'm just paraphrasing what I think the NHL is thinking right now with why on earth is this game being played? And I think that's what it is. Like we want to try to, I think they want to pump the brakes on postponing certain games now. And when it comes to this situation, they figure, you know what, Montreal is not going to be a playoff team. And even if they lose this game, they get pummeled. Is it really going to be a make or breaks type of game for their season? No, probably not. But boy, I mean, it's still just an incredible situation that you got a team that I'm looking at what they might be looking at here. And they don't even have an option for a fourth line center. They've got Nick Suzuki, Ryan Poehling, and Cedric Paquette, and they don't even have a fourth line center. They're going to have to get a spare left or right winger, probably from the taxi squad that they have, to be a fourth line center for them today because they've run out of centers. They have 3 centers available. They don't even have 4 centers. They don't even have 4 centers available for this hockey game. And somehow they're going to play. So if you wonder why Florida's minus 550, I think I just gave you a boatload of evidence to tell you why they're minus 550 here in this game. Samuel Montembeault, of course, look, it's got to be him in net. You got no other choice. Price is out. Allen's still out. Caden Primo's on the protocol list, so it's got to be Samuel Montembeault for Montreal. It'll be Sergei Bobrovsky in net for Florida. And when you look at Florida, yeah, they miss Hugh Levy and Nudavar on the blue line. They're without Owen Tippett and Sam Bennett in terms of their forward group. But boy, they look like a picture of health right now compared to the Montreal Canadiens. So, yeah, this is definitely, look, Florida should win, but where do you extract value, though? Minus 550, I'm not going to lay that. The puck line is minus 1.5, minus 230. I wouldn't say that's any sort of value either, or anything I'm interested in. If you want to go alternative puck line, it's even minus 130 to go with the Florida Panthers minus 2.5 goals, in this game. So it's difficult to extract value if you're going to try to back Florida here. And the team total, which, I took advantage of this on Thursday with Carolina against this depleted Montreal team with their team total being 3.5 still. Even that's now been bumped up. 4.5 is what we're seeing with the Florida Panthers for their team total in this game. So it's just a really, really tough one to the first period puck line for Florida. Yeah, you know what? I'm probably going to go with that for a small bet here. That's the one bet that, you could say, you know what? It's a digestible number. It's a decent price. And that's Florida first period puck line, -0.5, minus 115. And look, you don't see a -0.5 first period puck line, as a, as not a plus price. You've actually got it at minus 115 here. But that's probably, if you're going to look for something on Florida, maybe they jump on this absolutely brutal Montreal. Or not brutal because obviously they are beaten up and shorthanded to shit going into this game. But definitely a situation for me where Florida -0.5 first period puck line, which is minus 115. That might be the one little bit of value you can find here on this Florida team. But, Florida team total too, like they could score 5. I mean, they should score 5 in this game. But, those 4.5 team totals are dicey. And what if we get a Carolina situation? Because once they got up 3-0 and then they scored that third period goal, but they weren't actively looking for goals. When they got up 3-0, 4-0, they were a team that was definitely looking to shut it down, just, coast to the win. So if Florida's up 3-4-0 in this game, do they go after a 5th goal? Are they actively seeking a 5th goal is the question. But I wouldn't talk anyone out of the team total over for Florida, but that would be my concern with betting it in this game. All right. But anyway, Florida should win. And obviously, Montreal is in an absolutely horrendous situation today. Barely able to put enough players on the ice in this game to field a roster for this game. So tough sledding it'll be for Montreal, no doubt about that. Carolina and Columbus. We've got Carolina minus 200 road favorites, 6 the total in this game. I like Carolina in regulation here. I think it's definitely a game they should be able to take care of business against the Jackets. You look at Carolina in terms of their team health, they've gotten a lot better over the last few days. They've got pretty much everybody back outside of Brendan Smith and Jake Gardner and Martinook. And those aren't, make or break players necessarily for Carolina. So they are still fully healthy. As far as Columbus goes, they're still without, of course, Jonas Korpisalo, one of their top 2 goalies. Dean Kukin and Gavin Bayreuther on the blue line are still on COVID protocol. Oliver Bjorkstrand is as well. So they've got a couple guys out and missing, and they'll turn to, because of the fact that they're going to give Elvis Merzlikins a rest, they're going to go to Danil Tarasov in net here for the Jackets. He'll start this game this afternoon for them against Carolina. We'll see how he fares in this one. He's made 3 NHL appearances. His AHL numbers weren't great. 3.06 goals against average, 893 save percentage down there. So definitely I would think Carolina should have the chance to find the back of the net in this one. In terms of head-to-head meetings, they've definitely had the better of it. 4 straight victories they've had over Columbus, and they've won 4 of the last 5 times they played here in Columbus. And I think that's probably got a chance to keep going here. So there's a bunch of different ways I would, Carolina in regulation around minus 125. I do like that. Could go team total 3.5 over with Carolina. I know I won with that the other night. I wouldn't talk anyone out of taking that again here. The over full game, I think you could see that cash in as well in this game. So those would be the 3 ways I would go. This is not a game that yet I've locked in anything, but I'll tell you, those are the 3 directions I'm looking at. Carolina regulation I've bet already. The other 2 I lean with as well. Team total over 3.5 and full game over 6 as well in that Jackets Hurricanes game. All right, Chicago and Nashville. We've got Nashville minus 190, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. This is an interesting one here with the Blackhawks because all of a sudden we've got a situation where Colin Delia is going to be in net with both Kevin Lankinen and Marc-Andre Fleury unavailable for this game. And it's going to be a season debut for Colin Delia in net. So out of necessity, because obviously the Blackhawks don't have either Marc-Andre Fleury or Kevin Lankinen available for this game this afternoon against Nashville. And you got to wonder how sharp he's going to be in net, Delia. This is his first time starting with the Blackhawks this season. You look at his NHL numbers prior to this year. I mean, last year with Chicago in 6 games, 3.59 goals against average, not great. 3.61 goals against average with the Blackhawks the year before that. So Colin Delia is a marginal goaltender. I mean, that's essentially what he is. I mean, he's a journeyman goalie at this point. He's played most of his career in the minors. He's had a few stints, we know, here and there with the big club, with Chicago. But not exactly someone you fully trust here in this kind of spot when he hasn't played an NHL game yet this year. Nashville, on the other hand, we'll see if the Predators can bounce back. They've suddenly dropped 2 in a row from the break. And we kind of warned you about, Nashville in particular, the break disrupting their momentum, because that's a team that won 7 straight games prior to the Christmas break. And sure enough, they come out of the break and they've lost some of that momentum and rhythm they had. They've lost 2 in a row to Washington and Columbus coming out of the break. 5-3 to Washington, 4-3 shootout loss to Columbus the other night. Defensively, they've looked a little bit sloppy too. Saros had a tough night against Washington. Riddick as well against Columbus. We'll see if Chicago might be able to find the back of the net. I would lean to the full game over. I think what I like better, though, is just the Predators team total over 3.5 in this game. I think that's something you could look at here. There's also a very solid potential for Roman Josi to be back here for the Nashville Predators. We'll have to wait and see on that. We're still waiting, I think, on some confirmation of that. But definitely a situation where you might be able to see the Predators blue liner back on the ice here for this game against the Chicago Blackhawks. So I like the full game over, but I like the team total for Nashville even more. I think they've got a chance to get to 4 goals here in this game. Keep in mind, when you look at Chicago, they gave up 5 to Toronto. They gave up 4 to Washington. They gave up 4 to Dallas. And remember, for Chicago, this is their first game following the break. They haven't played since December 18. So you're looking at a Blackhawks team where you talk about, rust, and you talk about sloppy play creeping in, and you look down the board. We've seen a lot of these instances where teams playing that first game, they have all kinds of defensive miscues and have all sorts of issues. And you might see that here with this Chicago team here today, just defensive miscues, breakdowns in their own zone. That's all a product of not playing an NHL game in, almost 2 weeks like Chicago has. So I definitely like the team total for Nashville over 3.5. I like that more than the full game over, because I think Nashville could end up doing the brunt of the scoring here today, but would also lean to the full game over as well. All right, we go to the final afternoon game on this Saturday NHL card on New Year's Day. Edmonton Oilers, New York Islanders, even money here, pretty much both sides, 6 the total in this game. This is one of the games on the card today that I don't have a very, very strong opinion on, believe it or not. I'm pumping the brakes on Edmonton for at least for today, after what I saw yesterday. And I feel for our buddy Andrew. Had a really, strong play, I guess you could say, on Edmonton in regulation. And man, Edmonton, look, they didn't play great all game, but boy, they finally got the lead 5-4. And by the way, that 5-4 goal, I don't care how difficult it is, to make a decision with any one review, with any play that gets reviewed. I don't care how difficult it is. You cannot, under any circumstances, take 10 minutes to review a play. You can't. You just cannot spend that much time reviewing a particular play. That was ridiculous yesterday. 10-minute review for that Edmonton goal that made it 5-4. You got to make a decision quicker than that. Whether it's the war room in Toronto, the video replay room that was causing the delay in that decision being made, whether it was, confusion with whether the play was reviewable or challengeable or not, which apparently it wasn't after all that. Come on, you can't 10 minutes. You can't take that long. It should be 2 minutes. There should be a clock in the arena when they go to this review. And once it gets to 2 minutes, that's it. Make a decision, and stick with it. And that, because you can't have these games drag like that. It just killed the absolute flow of that game. 10 minutes is just ridiculous that it took that long in order to have that review gone, that goal looked at. So just not done well all around. But when you look at Edmonton yesterday, they think they're going to win the game. They give up the tying goal, 30 seconds left. New Jersey ties at 5-5, and then they win in overtime. Look, Mike Smith's not sharp right now, and the defense in front of him hasn't been good either. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. They've got some issues defensively as well. I mean, at least they got Darnell Nurse back yesterday, but still, we're looking at a team that's definitely had a tougher time defensively lately. We've seen it in their recent results, certainly since the Christmas break. I mean, they give up 74 shots, in the 2 games combined to the Blues. They lost that one 4-2, and of course the 6-5 loss to the Devils yesterday. Oilers have given up 74 shots on goal combined in those games. They've given up a power play goal in each game. Like I said, Mike Smith, who has not played in over 2 months, has looked like a 39-year-old goalie, to be quite honest with you, that hasn't played in 2 months with what you've seen from him. So definitely an Edmonton team. I'm staying away from them today, especially second of back-to-back games on the road here against an Islanders team that, look, I know it was Buffalo. It's not, hey, let's get the pom-poms out and start, celebrating. But, you got to win 4-1 over Buffalo. It was a good, solid team, workmanlike effort, both ends of the ice for the Islanders in that game. We'll see if that continues here. Islanders, by the way, they still have no Brock Nelson and no Ryan Pulock. But everybody else, for the most part, looks like they are back for this team. And Anthony Beauvillier has been cleared from COVID-19 protocol and practiced yesterday for the Islanders. Of course, he didn't play against Buffalo. So that's definitely a good news for the New York Islanders, that they should have him back in this game this afternoon against Edmonton. So I'd actually lean Islanders. We'll have to see who's in net here for Edmonton today. Of course, it won't be Mike Smith today. It's not just because he played yesterday, and didn't play well, but also because it's a second of back-to-back. So probably a good chance we see Mikko Koskinen. It looks like he is available. He's not on any COVID protocol list. He's not injured. So I would assume we're going to see Mikko Koskinen in between the pipes here in this game for the Edmonton Oilers. So I would expect him in net. I would lean Islanders here, though. I mean, Edmonton's got to sort out some issues defensively that they have right now. The Islanders trying to build some kind of momentum. It's hard to believe that this team, with the record they have, still just for the year, they're 9-18. It's hard to believe that's the record for the New York Islanders this year. But if they're going to try to get on some sort of run and get themselves back, and they're talking like it, Trotz and the players are saying, we're not giving up here. We think we're a good enough team. We think we're a playoff team, and we're going to end up getting back into the mix here in the postseason. So that's going to be the big question here for the New York Islanders. Can they finally gain some kind of traction and momentum and string some wins together? Because quite honestly, that has been a problem all year for the Islanders. They just have not had any sort of win streak. They've not had any sort of consistency. We'll see if they can finally get themselves on a little bit of a roll. I mean, if you're going to try to get on a roll, today's got to be a game you feel you have a shot to win, because you got kind of an Edmonton team that's looking to sort out their team game right now, which just hasn't looked all that crisp and all that clean and all that good, to be honest with you, in the two games since the Christmas break. So I'd lean Islanders, but this is going to be a game I stay off of. This is kind of a divergent total as well, because you look at Edmonton, hard to bet them under. Islanders, hard to bet them over. I mean, the 4-1 with Buffalo the other night, that game stayed under. So I'm going to stay off that game with the Oilers and the Islanders. But I'm fascinated to watch it because, can the Oilers bounce back from just a rough game, rough loss, tough one yesterday? And can the Islanders finally win 2 in a row and show signs of maybe getting on a little bit of a run? Because they've not been able to do that lately. We'll see if they can string another win together here, back-to-back wins here, if they can put them together, taking on this Oilers team. And say what you will about the Oilers' struggles, they're going to be a step up from Buffalo. So let's see if the New York Islanders can step up, get the job done here in this one. All right, before we get to the night games on the Saturday New Year's Day card, I want to remind everybody watching and listening about DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Again, they're offering a no-brainer offer that'll make you a winner once any shot gets past the goalie. New customers can bet just $1 on any NHL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores. Of course, the NHL got rid of ties following the 2005 lockout, so someone is going to score and light the lamp. If DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state, you can still play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings daily fantasy hockey contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Throw down $1 on any NHL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a goal. That's promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Must be 21 years of age or older. Must reside in a DraftKings Sportsbook state. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up for an account, use the promo code THPN. All right, time to go to the night games here. We've got 4 of them, starting with the Battle of Ontario. Ottawa Senators, Toronto Maple Leafs. We've got Toronto minus 310, home favorites, 6 the total, shaded to the over in this game. You've got the Leafs now returning from a little bit of a absence here because they've certainly had COVID-19 issues really rip through the team the last couple of weeks as well. They have not played since December 14. So this is now 2 weeks, almost 2.5 weeks for the Leafs since they've played a hockey game. So, what are we going to get from them tonight? Big time question. Ottawa Senators, they also have not played since the break. So these are 2 teams that are just getting their first game action since the Christmas break. For Ottawa, it's been since December 18th. when they last played. That was a 4-3 overtime loss to the Philadelphia Flyers. So extended layoffs for both of these teams. We're going to have to see which team can handle it better here in this one here. But certainly the over stands out to me. Ottawa is definitely a team that I trust them more to score than stop the puck. You look at it, they've gone over the total 6 of their last 10 games. The Toronto Maple Leafs going into the break, they were a team that early in the year, they were winning a lot of low-scoring games. The defensive game was there. The goaltending was good. And it was still there for the most part lately. But also earlier in the year, they weren't necessarily getting everything clicking at the offensive end. They'd have games where they'd have chances, but only score a couple of goals. Well, that offense certainly started to come alive going into the break. Since November 28th, they've scored 5, 8, 3, 3, 5, 3, 5, 5. I mean, this team has found their offense, and we know the Leafs have a boatload of offense. They've got goal scoring. They've got skill for days, and we just didn't always see it early in the year, and they were okay with winning, 2-1, 3-1 games when the offense really wasn't firing on all cylinders. Well, it was going into the break. Now, the question is, does the break disrupt things? Well, the good news is that for the Leafs, the NHL definitely did them a solid. They're certainly not doing the Montreal Canadiens a solid today, making them play with 18 players on the COVID list. But for the Leafs, though, hey, we'll bend over backwards to accommodate them. They've pretty much got everybody back here. Other than Timothy Liljegren on the blue line. He's the only player that's out. It looks like everybody that was battling a COVID situation for the Leafs is going to be available outside of that. Jack Campbell and Peter Mrazek, the two goalies, were on the COVID list. Nylander was on it for a bit. Marner. But by the way, Marner was an injury for him. He is ready, and he is going to be in the lineup tonight for the Leafs. And, of course, he was out not due to COVID, but injury before the Christmas break. So big return for the Leafs, getting Mitch Marner back tonight in this game. But even most of the players that were on the COVID-19 list for a bit, Mikheyev, Spezza, Rasmus Sandin on the blue line, William Nylander was on the COVID-19 list, John Tavares was, Alex Kerfoot was. All of these guys are available and going to play tonight for the Leafs. So it's pretty much all hands on deck for them. Fully healthy team for the most part, outside of Timothy Liljegren, the blue liner. Not quite that way for the Ottawa Senators. And by the way, it'll be Jack Campbell and net tonight for the Leafs. Ottawa, they've got, still a few guys out. Shane Pinto, Colin White, three of their centers are out. So they're a little bit short-handed at the center ice spot. Josh Brown on the blue line out. Nick Paul, Tyler Ennis as well, all out for the Senators, and Nikita Zaitsev as well. So you've got 2 starting defensemen, 3 starting centers, that are not suiting up for the Senators. So you do have a little bit more of a personnel issue with them. It's going to be interesting to see how they fare here, though. The one they really are going to miss here specifically tonight, is with the way he's played, is Josh Norris. He's been terrific. He's been centering that top line. He's now in COVID protocol. It's such a damn shame because you look at this Ottawa team and the way that top line for the Ottawa Senators was playing before the Christmas break. And I'm talking about Josh Norris, that starting first line center between Brady Tkachuk and Drake Batherson. That was actually one of the hotter lines in the NHL before the break, with Josh Norris centering that line with Batherson and Tkachuk. Well, to fill the void of Norris, it looks like DJ Smith has decided we're going to slot Timmy Stützle in that first line center spot and ask him to take over that role here tonight for the Ottawa Senators. So definitely a capable player. And the good news is for Tim Stützle before the break is that he was finally starting to get that offense going again a little bit. Last year was terrific rookie season for him, and kind of this year, not so much. You always say sophomore jinx, sophomore slump. Maybe he's been dealing with that a little bit, but the good news for Stützle is he's been much better the last few games. You look at his last 7 games, he's collected 7 points in those games, 4 goals in those 7 games. So that is definitely a good sign for the Ottawa Senators, and especially now with your top-line center, Josh Norris, missing tonight. Stützle is going to be asked to take over that role. It's good to see Stützle starting to produce again offensively for the Senators. So that should help them tonight in this game. I like the over. Like I said, I think Toronto's definitely healthy. And certainly when you talk about rust for Toronto, well, it could be that way for Ottawa. So it's a wash. So it probably should be a game Toronto gets the win. But I could see the Leafs being a little bit, just like a lot of teams have been, these first games after a long layoff, and you can say the same about Ottawa in this game as well. Defensive miscues, sloppy play. That's when it happens when you haven't played in a couple weeks. So I would look over this total. There are sixes still out there with this total at -120. So that would be the way I would go here with Ottawa, Toronto, over 6, -120. All right, it is Winter Classic time, the Terry Edelman special, I guess you could say. Winter Classic, first time ever in Minnesota. St. Louis Blues, Minnesota Wild. We've got pretty much even money here on both sides, -110. The total 6 shaded to the under. And when I said earlier in this show, briefly talking about the Winter Classic, that you'd better bring your woolies or something to keep you warm, I meant it. Bring 8 layers of clothing, your woolies, your long johns, a couple blankets, freaking thermostat, could you have a hot thermos, a hot chocolate you can maybe have with you? I don't know, whatever you need to try to maintain some level of warmth. You got to try to do it here in this game tonight, because it is going to be what's that old saying? It's going to be colder than a witch's titty. Yeah, that's exactly what it's going to be here tonight in Minnesota. The predicted temperature at puck drop in Minnesota, which is going to be, of course, 6 p.m. local time, Central Time, -21 Celsius. And with the wind chill, -29. That's Celsius with the temperature here in this game tonight. So it's going to be absolutely beyond frigid in Minnesota. So the question is, with it being that cold, how does it affect the play on the ice outside here? Target Field, home of the Minnesota Twins. The way I see it, that ice should be in great condition. That ice is going to be hard as a rock with how cold it is. This should be some of the better ice conditions we've had for a Winter Classic in the history of this annual New Year's Day game, to be quite honest with you. How is that ice going to be in any other condition but pristine for this game, considering how cold it is? So you would expect why is it significant to know what the ice is going to be like? Because if you're dealing with a warmer day for a game like this, where it's around the freezing mark, or it's actually above 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit, if it's actually above that temperature, then the ice conditions deteriorate, and you have to worry about slush on the ice and little puddles of water on the ice. And why is that significant in an outdoor game when you're trying to handicap it? Because it makes passing more difficult. Tape to tape passing, making those cross seam passes, making those cross ice plays, they become much more difficult when the ice is not cooperating in an outdoor game. So from all indications, this should be some excellent ice conditions here for this game. We'll have to wait and see. It's going to be interesting. Again, it's usually the warmer days where you're going to get worse ice here for the Winter Classic. So it's going to be interesting to see. The total, because I don't think this is not your dead nuts over, I think, for Minnesota. Now, we know we have talked about Minnesota games at home going over. Well, that was at XL Energy Center. You're talking now an outdoor game. So you do have to keep that in mind. I don't think you can group it in the same category here. But nevertheless, I like Minnesota. That's probably the bet that I'm going to just stick with here, is just the Minnesota side. -110, -115. This is for the first time all year, I guess you could say, for the Minnesota Wild. Some adversity has hit them. 4 straight losses. They haven't played, of course, since the break. And yeah, St. Louis does have the 1 game under their belt, which was a win against Edmonton. Normally, I don't love backing the teams off the long break, but it's a good team needing the break to really recalibrate themselves and, figure things out. It's not like they've played horrible during this stretch, but I would say the Dallas game was horrible defensively. 7-4. It wasn't one of Cam Talbot's better games in net either that night for the Minnesota Wild. And keep in mind, it's a guy that's had pretty good season overall. You're not used to seeing him giving up 6 goals on 28 shots, like he did against the Dallas Stars. So, I think when you look at this Minnesota team, and by the way, Joel Eriksson is definitely an absence that worries me. He's been good for them this year. They're battling Jared Spurgeon, one of their reliable defensemen, also missing in action for this game. Jonas Brodin as well, Jordan Greenway. Those are key absences. I mean, they don't get the headlines that Kaprizov does or some of their other players up front. But Joel Eriksson-Ek has been a difference maker for the Minnesota Wild this year. So don't love the idea that he's not playing here in this game. But I think for Minnesota, you're at home, you're at Target Field, you got the crowd behind you. It's an incredible atmosphere. It's going to have this team amped up. And like I say, sometimes when you're a good hockey team, it's okay to lose 4 in a row, and it's okay to use, the break to maybe hit the reset button a little bit. And I could definitely see that being the case here for Minnesota in this game. And plus, when it comes to St. Louis, I still don't love the way they've played outside of the Blue Note City. We see that they're 12-5 at home. They have a terrific home record. They're only 6-9 on the road this year, the St. Louis Blues. So they have not been necessarily playing all that great away from home. And they've still got a couple of absences too. Bortuzzo's still out. Braden Shen is out. Pavel Buchnevich missed the game against the Oilers. It'll be interesting to see if he's able to return. It looks like a chance that he'll be able to return for this game for the Blues. So it's looking like he's been upgraded to probable. Sundqvist as well. Oscar Sundqvist missed the last game. He looks like he'll be back. So a couple guys could be back for the Blues, but again, their road record's not been good. I expect Minnesota to really come out with a great deal of energy in this game. And I like Minnesota here, -110, -115 in this one against the St. Louis Blues. Should be Jordan Binnington in net for St. Louis. I would expect that to be the case, although it hasn't been confirmed yet. He's had an up and down year. Now, he did play well against Edmonton, but can he do it once again here outdoors in the Winter Classic against Minnesota? That remains to be seen. But definitely, I'm looking at Minnesota here at an even money price. We're talking about St. Louis, 6-9 on the road. Flip that over, Minnesota 10-3 at home. Now, technically, this is not their regular home XL Energy Center, but it's still a home game for Minnesota. Pretty much in the city. So I like Minnesota here, -110, -115 as a slight home favorites, although it's even money in a lot of spots. All right, Vancouver Canucks and Seattle Kraken. We've got Vancouver -115 road favorites, 5.5 the total in this one. I thought for sure that when Vancouver lost their first game under Bruce Boudreau, which happened, of course, the other night against the LA Kings, losing that game in a shootout. I thought for sure, you know what? After they lose that first game, Vancouver, I'm definitely not going to back them the next time out. I'll jump off the train, but I'm going to be on Vancouver here. I mean, Seattle's just a mess. Seattle just can't win hockey games right now. They're 1-7 in their last 8. They lost. Their only win was against San Jose, 3-1. And they actually didn't play great. They got outshot in that game. I mean, it's been tough sledding for Seattle. And Vancouver, if anything, they're chomping at the bit to get back on the ice and probably not happy they finally lost for the first time under Bruce Boudreau. So it's just, for me, more than anything, Seattle's just totally out of sorts right now. The defense has not been anything as good as I thought. Goaltending. And now we got to worry about Drieger a little bit because Chris Drieger started the game against Calgary. He gets lit up and gives up 6 goals in that game for the Kraken. So they don't have a goalie they can fully have confidence in right now. Grubauer's fighting the puck. Drieger is fighting the puck right now for Seattle. So they've got some goaltending issues. I'm back on the Vancouver side here, -115 in this game tonight, bouncing back hopefully from the loss to the Kings. It was one of those nights where you could just tell the Vancouver Canucks did not have their legs. They did not whatsoever. They were slow. They were losing puck battles and races all over the ice for loose pucks. They only had 18 shots on goal in that game against the LA Kings. You could just tell that team was not. Some nights you just don't have it, and you don't have enough. You don't have that energy. You don't have that gas in the tank, and that was one of those nights for Vancouver. I'd expect them to be a whole lot better here in this game tonight. So for me, it's Vancouver -115 here in this game. The total's tough because Seattle's been trending over, but I'm telling you what, Vancouver's mastered these lower scoring, tighter checking games here under Boudreau for the most part. They've played more unders than overs so far. Actually, it looks like 4-3 to the under in the games that they've played under Bruce Boudreau so far. So, or 5-3 to the under, I should say. So, yeah, I mean, they're definitely playing better team defense, and Thatcher Demko has been good in net. Of course, it was Yaroslav Halak against the Kings on Thursday night. So I would expect Thatcher Demko to be back in net for the Canucks tonight. Probably Grubauer again for Seattle. He's projected to be the goalie, but not confirmed yet. But definitely lean here. Not a lean. I am on Vancouver here, minus 115 in this one. All right, Philadelphia, Los Angeles. Final game on this Saturday, New Year's Day card. We've got the LA Kings minus 160. Home favorites here, 5.5 being the total in this game. LA Kings looking to build us off the momentum of that. We talked about Vancouver, LA being the team that snapped their undefeated streak under Bruce Boudreau, and it was the LA Kings who ended that streak for Vancouver with that 2-1 shootout win on Thursday night. We'll see if they can carry that momentum forward here against the Philadelphia Flyers. I'm not sure they will, to be quite honest with you. I mean, you're looking at a Philadelphia Flyers team that, for the most part, they're playing better hockey overall. Not one of their better games, clearly, against the San Jose Sharks the other night, getting outshot 46-25 in that game. But I'll tell you what, the kid in net for them, Sandstrom, Felix Sandstrom, who got the start that night, was pretty solid in goal for the Philadelphia Flyers in that game. As far as the Flyers situation with Carter Hart, I don't think he's going to be back. And of course, they're still without Sean Couturier, Scott Lawton, Derek Brassard. So a couple of key pieces definitely missing in action here for the Philadelphia Flyers tonight. So Jonathan Quick will be in net once again for the Kings tonight. I would think they're going to go with Martin Jones because Carter Hart's not going to be available. And even though Sandstrom played pretty solidly against San Jose, I think they want to give Martin Jones a chance to play one of his former teams. Of course, Martin Jones, we remember him most recently, former member of the San Jose Sharks, but before that, he was a member of the LA Kings. And he was actually backing up Jonathan Quick, back when he was with the LA Kings many years ago. So definitely a chance to beat the former teammate, Jonathan. And say what you will, Martin Jones actually did have a good start in his last outing. He actually did play pretty well against Seattle. 3-2 overtime win against the Kraken. He made 34 saves on 36 shots, was one of his better games of the year. He's still not a goalie I fully trust, but tonight against one of his former teams, with the Flyers coming off a loss here, getting the price they're getting, plus 140, I'm willing to take a shot here. Philadelphia Flyers at plus 140 in this game, even with Martin Jones. And anybody that's been watching the Ice Guys for years, no, I ain't no Martin Jones fan, but definitely at this price, I'm willing to take a shot here with the Philadelphia Flyers plus 140 in this game. There's also a goal scorer prop I like here. Morgan Frost for the Philadelphia Flyers is definitely someone who's getting a lot more chances, opportunity. He hasn't found the back of the net just yet, but he's close and he's had chances right now. So, keep an eye on Morgan Frost for the Flyers. Might be someone you want to look at potentially in this game tonight in terms of a goal scorer prop. I think he's at least got the potential anyway to find the back of the net here in this game between the Flyers and the Kings. But yeah, Philly, as long as that price maintains itself, plus 140, at that price, at that number, I think they're worth a look here in this game tonight against the LA Kings. All right, great stuff. That is the Saturday New Year's Day card. All 9 games right here on the Ice Guys. Should be a fun day of hockey. Looking forward to it. Thank everybody for joining us live on YouTube for this New Year's Day edition of the show. First Ice Guys show of 2022. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out if you haven't done so already. We definitely appreciate that. All right, let's get to best bets to wrap up this Saturday New Year's Day edition of the Ice Guys. For my best bet, I'm going to go to Ottawa, Toronto over 6 minus 120. I like that one. Both teams off extended layoffs. I could see pond hockey developing. I could see sloppy play both ways. When it comes to Ottawa, I certainly trust their ability to score more than their ability to keep the puck out of their own net. Regardless of who's in net for them, I don't believe they have confirmed a goalie yet for tonight. It could be Matt Murray, who is all of a sudden back with the team again right now, because it looks like Forsberg and Philip Gustafsson still may not be available for the Senators tonight. So it could be Matt Murray, certainly not a goalie we trust. Ottawa put him on waivers. It tells you how much they trust him. So Toronto should score some goals in bunches tonight, but don't rule out Ottawa being able to contribute to the score sheet as well. You are still talking about a Leaf team that's coming off a long layoff. They could make some miscues in their own zone. And keep in mind, Toronto was heavily trending to the over in the majority of their games prior to the Christmas break. I think we'll see some goals here in this one. Ottawa, Toronto, over 6, -120 for my best bet for this Saturday card. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeart Radio. Download the Ice Guys podcast whenever you can't watch the show live. I'm Ian Cameron. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the games and good luck. Have a great Saturday, a great New Year's Day. Happy New Year one more time. And we'll be back with you tomorrow on Sunday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.